Hello everyone, Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a review of one of my favorite Barolo producers because I met her. Her name is Giulia Negri. The wine is the 2018 Barolo Serradenari. And so this winery is owned by Giovanni Negri. He was a member of the Italian Parliament. And it's been in the Diatto-Negri family since 1880. And Giulia took over in 2014 the management. I think she was very young, like in her 20s when she took over. And so she's kind of a new face. She's called Barolo Girl, but that's really just, the press dub her that. She really knows her stuff, and she's, a legitimate winemaker, went through all the processes and schooling, etc., etc. So I was fortunate. She was in town in Vancouver. I was fortunate to meet her, had dinner with her, drank her wines with her. Very knowledgeable person. It really got me into Barolo wines and also this concept of high altitude Barolo. And one of the things that she says is that because of global warming, there is a change. The change is very slight, a couple of degrees, but that's enough to change where the best plots for Barolo are. The customary thinking is that Barolo grows best where the frost melts first, which is generally in the middle of a hill. But that's like a thing that's been around for like 50 years or 30 years. And so things change. It's kind of catchy, but sometimes a generalization is just that, a generalization. Nowadays, with global warming, Giulia believes that her high altitude vineyards in Serradenari are probably the better places to grow it because you get better ripeness and you also get the cool climate with a little bit more of the winds or the coolness and dampness at night. Serradenari is in the Morra region or the Morra village, and it is actually very high up. It's in medieval times. The peasants went there to escape the Black Death. And it is some of the highest elevations where Barolo is grown. And Barolo in the Piedmont region, it's the Nebbiolo grape, which is fairly fickle. You can treat it kind of like the Pinot Noir grape in terms of climatically what they want, quite mild weather. And I think the high altitude softens up a bit of the heat from the sun exposures. So she makes a number of wines. This one, the Serradenari, comes from the Serradenari MGA, and it's grown at a very high altitude of 520 meters above sea level, some of the highest in Barolo, and 30 months in the Slavonian oak barrels, large Slavonian oak barrels. It's also notable because it is a place where they find the alba truffles, and so great for food, great for wine. And I think in the past, let's say you go back 30-40 years, people would have thought there's no possible way you could grow decent Barolo too high up. And now the question is, how high up? High up is too high up. And Giulia is proving that you can, at least up to her levels where the vineyards are, it's you can still make some very fine Barolo. What I've tasted this with a number of my friends, and their comments are always that they're surprised that this Barolo is so accessible early. And if you just look at the color, it looks on the lighter side and very clear, but it still packs a punch. It's still a Barolo. It's still aged the same way in 30 months in oak, and it still can last. But the difference, I think, with high altitude Barolo is that you can really access it much, much earlier. All right, let's get to the cork. So it's from the Morra region, Giulia Negri. I'm going to research this. It says ND Tech, so I don't know. I've never seen that on corks. So this is the label, Giulia Negri. Barolo Serradenari, 2018. Very simple label, 14% alcohol. And then the color will be surprising, I think. Most people will see. It's a little bit lighter, but it is pretty typical of Nebbiolo grape. A little bit on the brick red side, but that's not age, that's just the grape. And very clear. It looks a little bit light. If you look in person, it looks a little bit light, but by no means is this wine a light wine. Let's taste the wine. And like many of my other reviews, I generally drink a wine a few times. So the first time I drank this wine was yesterday with some friends. We didn't decant it and just opened. And when we opened it, right away, very aromatic with some floral and dark fruit elements. Really opened up very quickly. Lots of dark fruit, intense flavors of that on the taste. So now this is overnight and this is the second day. On the aroma, there's not as much intensity. I smell more just some floral components, light floral components, and maybe some herbal elements, and some dark fruit, but much lighter intensity in terms of the aroma. On the taste, lots of fruit right away in your mouth. You're tasting black fruits, you're tasting tart cherry, you're tasting black plums, and then there is a heaviness in terms of the tannins. I would say they're medium tannin, good balance, great aftertaste, some herbal elements, licorice, almost some pine nuts on the end. It's very well balanced. It's ethereal, but it's not a light wine, but it's easy to approach. And I think that people that are not, haven't tasted a lot of Barolo, I think this is a very good wine to enter into this world, Barolo world, because it's so accessible, this wine, early. There's something about high altitude Barolo that makes it a little bit easier to approach in its youth. Having said that, it's not a light wine. This needs food. The color looks light. You'll see it in my video, quite light, but the taste is definitely not dilute. And this wine, I think it's nice because it's easy to access early. I can drink it right now without any problem. There's lots of fruit on this. The tannins don't overpower things, and it's very giving in terms of its nature. Having said that, I think it will last easily 10 years. This wine is not a dilute wine. So I really like this wine. I'm not sure what the Wine Spectator rating is, but my rating is 93 points. And to me, she's a great producer of Barolo, and especially high altitude Barolo, and just another version of Barolo that people will be surprised about how accessible this Barolo can be. Hope you've enjoyed this tasting. Until next time, happy drinking.